10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's start the show.
Right now we are sitting down with my favorite Arkansas State University running back. We have a guy who's fought on Dana White's Contender Series, a guy who's a big-time name in MMA, a former Mr. Money in the Bank from WrestleMania 23, former WWE United States Champion, a former two-time TNA Heavyweight Champion, Mr. This guy directed Batman Heart of Ice on YouTube, an amazing fan film. Someone who was in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the Ultimate Fighter at one point. Helped run and promote Championship Wrestling of Arkansas for the little bit of time that it was around, as well as a professional wrestler from the early 90s. The guy is running Street Beast Dirty South, a professional MMA fighter, and looking to make a debut sometime in the near future in bare knuckle boxing. We're the one and only Jason Voorhees, Mr. James Stokes himself. How's it going, James? Good to see you again.
You are now experiencing the Adam Talks Podcast Season 2.
Welcome to another great episode of the Adam Talks Podcast right here on whatever platform you're watching or listening to us on. It is an awesome episode we got for you today. It's somebody that I've worked with in the IWF. He's a fixture there. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. But before we get into this episode, before we get into talking about him and letting you know who exactly it is, can you do one thing for me? Just one real quick thing. Takes literally a couple seconds out of your day. If you're on YouTube, could you hit that subscribe button? And if you're on one of the other streaming platforms, could you hit that follow button? Literally takes a couple seconds. Super easy. One of the easiest things you will do all day. I appreciate all the love and support that you guys have been giving me, and it's not going to, the great episodes are not going to stop. We got another great one tomorrow. I can't wait for that one. It's going to be a lot of fun as well. But today we have former IWF heavyweight champion Shawn Prime on the show. This guy is an awesome athlete. He's learned from a backyard standpoint before getting into wrestling, and his journey kind of mirrors mine in a unique way. But we diverge at the way that we wrestle. You know, he of course calls himself a spot monkey. I'm definitely not that. But guys, I'm not going to hold you up any further. Check it out. This is a great interview. Here's my interview for your entertainment with Shawn Prime.
And he's a former heavyweight champion for the IWF. We got the man himself, Shawn Prime, on. How's it going, dude?
It's going great. Life is good, and I have zero complaints.
Right on, man. Right on. I know that there's an event coming up in July, the Comic-Con event, the biggest event of the calendar year for the IWF. What is that looking like for Shawn Prime right now?
So I am coming back from a very recent ACL tear. But as it stands, to the best of my knowledge, my booking is against Logan Knight and Stormy Renee in a mixed gender tag team match.
Okay. Who do you got on your team?
So our booker was supposed to be in talks with Natalie Markova. I don't think that worked out super well. So we are currently looking for someone. I think we're talking to Aaron Harris, but yeah.
Right on, man. Right on. So I ask this question to pretty much every wrestler that comes on. Where did your love for wrestling start, man?
So my love for wrestling started at a very young age. Going to my uncle as he would babysit me when I was little, and he had SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, and we would sit and play that, and that's how we bonded, and that's how I was introduced to wrestling. I was, in 06, I was like 6-7 years old, so that was like the time for me, and I got to play as all my favorite superstars, and then as I got older, I started watching actual programming. The first match I ever really watched and got into was CM Punk and William Regal. in '08 for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. It was a normal episode of Raw, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, that's awesome. And ever since then, William Regal has been absolutely one of my favorite wrestlers. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into the love of wrestling.
Right on, man. For me, it was like years before that, 97, whenever I got into it, because I'm just a little bit older than you. But, I got into WCW, WWF. It was Raw and Nitro, dude. And I got to see the greats, the legends when I was a kid doing their thing in their prime, like DDP in his prime, man. Sting I would say the prime of his career, but it was Crow Sting. So, I mean, you get what you get. It's good. It's great. He didn't talk for like over a year. And then you got Rey Mysterio as Rey Mysterio Jr. back in the day, doing all of the flips that no one knew about back then. And then you go flip the channel over to USA, and you got this car crash TV that was Raw in the Attitude Era beginning. All this crazy stuff happening and everything. And that's kind of where it kicked off for me, for sure. What drew you in to make you want to become a wrestler? Was it just the awesome moves? Was it the matches? Was it the storytelling, the rivalries? What was it?
It was 100% the storytelling, because so going back to that match between CM Punk and Regal, William Regal is one of the best storytellers in all of professional wrestling, and I will fight anyone that says anything different. And just watching how they were able to tell a story and knowing like, hey, that's kind of really awesome. I want to do that one day. So yeah, that's what drove it to me, was just the storytelling and the ability to go out there and just like, hey, I'm going to do something awesome and you're all going to love it.
Yeah. Did you ever have any backyard wrestling days or anything, or was it all like straight to going and finding a pro wrestling school?
Oh,
how was your what was your journey like?
So back in 2017, I'm fresh out of high school. There's this random dude with a wrestling ring in his backyard, and I'm like, hey man, I want to do that. And he's like, sure, come on. The man was so bad, he couldn't teach me how to take a proper bump. I thank God for the pros that were around in the area who came and showed us how to do things. It's probably why we're not dead right now. And then, it just went from there, did the backyard stuff. And when I went to college, there were some guys that were pretty popular in the Tulsa area. They're like, hey, you can come in, work with us. We'll kind of get you up to speed. And I'm thankful for those guys. And they actually do a podcast now, and do a lot of video training for professional wrestling. I'm not going to shamelessly plug them, but I'm thankful for those guys getting me and showing me the ropes and how to not suck so badly.
Definitely, man. Was it a hard time figuring out how to get into the business? Like you said, you did have a little bit of backyard quotation marks around the word backyard experience, but you did have some backyard experience, and then you were brought under these people's wing. What was the experience like for you as a whole, just getting into the business?
So I'll never forget the day I walked up to them. They had a ring set up in one of the campus gyms at the time, and I'm like, hey guys, can I participate? I've got a little bit of experience. I kind of know what I'm doing. I did not, by the way. And then they start working with me, and they're like, so you're blind, right? Yeah. This is awkward. We don't know how we feel about this. So it was hard for that one aspect of people really just not wanting to like jump in and like work with a blind guy, especially one who's a bit of a spot monkey. So it was hard. And I think a lot of people have similar stories that even aren't walking around with a disability. But yeah, that's pretty much how it was. It was hard.
How do you that's one thing that I don't think that many people know about you. I mean, and if they do, it's probably not a large group as far as the wrestling fan base watching the IWF or anything, that you are blind. I mean, how do you accommodate for that? How does it work for you, and what's it like being able to be out there performing with this disability that you have?
Um, well, so a lot of anything I do, it's always stemmed from someone telling me, no, you can't do something. And, growing up, when I was in elementary, I wanted to play football. Parents was like, no, that's a bad idea. You're going to get hurt. And, by high school, I was playing. And, now I'm just like, I'm really cool. Cause I'm those guys that I can go in there and I'm a spot monkey. I know that's a derogatory term, but I can do some pretty cool things and make some people go, "Oh, that was awesome." And just kind of how all that works is just listening really closely, feeling, and people don't quite have to talk as loud, and I'm going to hear what they're saying. So that's fun. The guys that trained me, they believed in a lot of hand signals, and I'm about to hit you with the big boot, and they're going to tap their boot, and I just hear those things, and I don't know. To me, it's pretty simple, pretty easy. Like, if someone's over off in a corner and they're tapping their thigh, like, hey, I'm about to hit you with this. I'm not going to assume they're about to clothesline me. Everyone's pretty predictable if you watch and study them enough. So it just, is it a little bit harder? Yes. But with proper effort and study, I think anyone could do what we do.
Definitely, definitely. And I didn't think about it, but I guess it's just like anybody else's journey. Whereas, you don't see, but you got more. You're able to listen better. You're able to hear better, and sounds that maybe not aren't as noticeable or loud. You're able to pick up on. Where you said they're able to communicate with you, and they don't have to talk as loud. So you kind of already know the direction that people are going and stuff. Whereas with a visual person like myself or anybody else wrestling that doesn't have your disability, we can see what's coming. We can know how to take the move, know what's coming next, that sort of thing. But for you, it's just the way you learn. You learned it your way because that's the way you had to learn it. So I guess it's the same for anybody. You just learn in your own way. So
Absolutely. And the people
go
that
ahead.
trained me, they were big on communication. They were big on how to call a match. When to call and where to call. We're not going to be down up by your hip trying to lift you up like, hey, after this. No, you would have got slapped in the face and told to go run 7 laps. So they were big on communication, and that's just how I wrestle at this point. I'm real big on communication. Communication, keeping everyone safe. That's a big deal.
Where all of you wrestled? I mean, you got your start backyard, and then training from these one guys who had a promotion of their own, I suppose, a professional promotion, and they taught you up, got you learning better. Was that your actual professional training from those guys, or did you have a professional teacher that you learned under, a learning tree, if you will?
That's about as far as that goes. I'm just being in the group, learning the best I could, and just a lot of just intake from John and Aaron and everything that they did. And those are the guys with the How to Be a Pro Wrestler whole clinic thing. They run that out of Northeastern State up in Northeastern Oklahoma, which is where I went to college. I don't know if they'd if I said, yeah, they trained me, if they'd go, no, we didn't. Don't put that on us. But
That was not. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
yeah, exactly. I don't know if they'd be down for that, but I learned a plethora from them, and then just throwing myself out there like, yeah, I can do this. And then just learning trial by fire. I know a lot of people are gonna hate that, but hey, that's the way some people have to do it.
Feet first, man. Feet first. Just getting in there and getting dirty with it.
Yeah.
Was it the IWF, the first group that you really wrestled for, or was it another group?
Yeah, it was the IWF. The guys that are with the IWF, not a lot of them are left, but that was the core of the backyard group I was with, and then everyone's went out, got some form of. Almost everyone's went out and got some form of professional training, whether that's just some old veteran beating them up in the backyard or not. And we just made ourselves a little bit more legit ever since then. But that was where I started. Yeah, they're a great group of guys. I like most of them.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good, bro.
I was gonna say, have you always been Shawn Prime? Because I know you as Michael. Have you always been Shawn Prime though, in ring?
No. For a couple promotions, I wrestled under a mask, and we don't talk about those days. Because those days were fun and really embarrassing because I was just learning, and they're like, "Hey, we need an extra body to go job," and I'm like, "I got you."
We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah. And so after that, after the mask days, I wrestled as Colton Prime, and then someone got a hold of me and like, "No, that's a lot. What's your middle name? Shawn? You're Shawn Prime now." And that's what I've been billed at ever since.
If you had to break down and explain the character of Shawn Prime, how would you do that?
So Shawn Prime right now is currently trying to figure out how in the world he is supposed to be a good guy, because for the longest he has been quote unquote the bad guy. He is my personal personality turned up to 10, and that is in some manner or form, deep down in my soul, I believe I am better than everyone at everything. And most people, especially at the IWF, they are not fit to tie my boots. So the whole gimmick is, bad guys do it better. And I'm just a bad guy. If you're watching any of our current stuff right now, I'm starting to come out with a female manager, and I'm being just really awful to her. She's being a little bit slow behind me the other day, and I told her, you'd be a little bit faster if you ate a cheeseburger once in a while. And I had two people that said they wanted to swing on me. Just working the crowd, being the ultimate bad guy, and yeah, fun.
Jesus, man. So Shawn Prime is the ultimate bad guy, the guy who thinks he's better than everybody, no matter what. Like,
no,
10 out of 10.
The word think is not in the vocabulary of Shawn Prime. He is better than everyone.
Hey, that's the same thing with Adam Gregory. He knows he's the best. So I mean, that's why I have the gimmick, simply the best, right there, man, on the T-shirt. Yeah, but
it's so simple, but it works, right?
Right. I mean, look, I'm not a bad dude, and you're not a bad dude in real life. I mean, people could just walk up to you and say, "Hey, what's up?" And you say, "Hey, how's it going?" We're just here to be ourselves, But once you walk through that curtain, there's a completely different animal that comes loose. And I think it's the coolest thing to be able to let loose and be something you're not. Be the opposite of who you are. For me, that's what Adam Gregory does, because I'm not a bad dude. I'm a really laid back, chill, nice dude. And Adam Gregory is the most uptight prick you ever met. You know what I mean? He's a guy, he knows he's better than everybody, just like Shawn Prime. Man, that's a tag team waiting to happen at some point in the later future.
Right.
Man. I mean, Jesus, we're the best. That's the way it works, so. But yeah, I understand completely about the bad guy thing, man. I think it's, like I was saying, I think it's the coolest thing to be able to let loose and not have to be yourself. I think that's the thrill of being a bad guy. You get a rush being a good guy whenever you pop a crowd, whenever you go out there, you're like, yeah, and then they start cheering and stuff. You get them popping, man. It's great. But nothing in my mind compares to having people boo the hell out of you and tell you to go home. It is just the best feeling, and I don't know why. Like I said, it may all be something having to do with not being yourself, just being able to do something you always want to do or whatever. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I 100% agree with you. So I firmly believe deep down in my soul, like there's probably some little hint of me actually being a bad person, but social conditioning and whatnot. But I love it. I'm there with you. I can't describe what it is that when I go out there and they're just eating it up, man. I wrestled a show a couple weeks ago. The crowd was absolutely on fire. I had them eating out of the palm of my hand. It was great. At one point, they were telling me to put a shirt on. I've currently lost a butt ton of weight, and my ring gear doesn't fit anymore, so I was having to go really weird gear style. But it was great. The crowd was great. They wouldn't let me get a word in edgewise when I was trying to cut a promo. And I love that. I love that feeling. I guess I'm a giver, and I love the inevitable putting someone over. And I love to watch other people get that the huge pop, and just knowing I was a wonderful part and all that, it just makes my day.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I think that the best thing about it is, you can go in there and the crowd be dead as hell, and you could have the good guy come out first or the bad guy come out first. Doesn't matter. But you could go out there, no one's cheering for anybody, and the minute you start addressing that crowd and start dressing them down, be like, "You shut the hell up when I'm talking to you. You don't have the right to speak to me right now. Shut up." Or whatever the hell you're saying. Whenever you're doing any of that, it'll automatically make them go, "Is he talking to me?" Oh, and they're booing you and stuff, and it's just great. I mean, the feeling that you can affect a crowd in that way is just an awesome thing. And vice versa for the good guy stuff too, man. If you go out there and you do just the right thing, man, they'll get behind you, they'll cheer you, they'll want to give you a hug when you get out of the ring, whatever, It's just such a cool thing. Where did Shawn Prime's break down the journey from Shawn Prime day one in IWF? What was it like for the character, for the person, Michael underneath? What was it like in IWF in them earlier time periods?
Oh, the early time periods. So it was a lot of learning, a lot of trial by fire. Shawn Prime has always been a step above everyone else in the way he competes, even back when we were all just learning together. Everyone else eventually just catches up, and Shawn Prime just moves up 2 rungs above them. And the journey for Shawn Prime has been one of surprisingly friendship. There are a couple guys that I've got to work with for a very long time, and I'm super excited. We get to work again, me and Aaron, actually. We get to work again May 25th down in Paris, Texas. We're going to go down there. We're going to put on an absolute wrestling clinic and show why we are some of the best in this area. But that's been a story of our just rivalry. And I don't ever want to compare it like CM Punk to Colt Cabana, because we're not tearing down barns at this point. But we know each other so well, we can go in and we can put on an absolute great match, and that's been a large part of the tale of the tape at IWF. It's been great to add in new competition and all, but at the end of the day, that's been the tale of the tape.
Yeah, definitely, man. Is that Gavin Moon or is that Jordan Faithful?
So Gavin Moon is a recent gimmick change for Aaron. Before then, he was known as Aaron Steele, and he had an alter kind of broken Matt Hardy persona. And I feuded with that alternate broken persona quite a bit. There was one point we did a pretty nice crowd that night, and we're just like, hey, we're gonna have a tables match. It's like, okay. Ended up going through a table. Yeah. If anyone ever offers to put you through a table, it's nowhere near as bad as it sounds, but man, you'll feel it the next morning.
It's nowhere near as bad as it sounds, but you're gonna feel it the next morning.
Like,
it's gonna hurt.
you still have to sell it. Like, it's pretty bad, but you can get up and walk around afterwards. I mean, that's kind of the
I
point
know
with
you
anything we do in wrestling.
definitely, man. It's not like a play or something, you know.
Yeah.
You're getting slammed around, you know. I'd say if you equated it to anything, it'd be like dance or ballet, which is dance, you know,
Yeah.
because people fall down. It's a very physical thing. A play is like your promos or your promo battles. You could say a play is like that, but everything else is football. It's basketball. It's freaking dance, whatever you want to call it. The rest is a sport, whether it's predetermined who wins or loses or not. Whatever happens out there is fucking athletic ability, man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, I think that I lost my train of thought. What was? Oh my god, dude! I'm so sorry.
We
I lost my
were
train of thought.
talking about basically the realism of professional wrestling and how it still kind of hurts because table spot back with
Ah,
kind of what Aaron did beforehand. Yeah.
my brain for some reason just isn't working great right now.
I feel
Yeah,
you, man.
I've not ever taken any weapon shots. I don't, nor do I really want to take any weapon shots. So, yeah, man, it's a very competitive dance at the
Yeah.
least. Um, so you feuded with Aaron from the beginning, pretty much. What was the journey like for the character of Shawn Prime? Not just you as a learner at that point. What was going on story wise in the earlier years?
So the story wise, so early on, Shawn Prime was the quote unquote. I've since learned I stole this from someone, but I didn't mean to. So Shawn Prime early on was the American Viking. I would come out in old time regalia. One time I wore a kilt. It was great. And so story wise for Shawn Prime, Shawn Prime has been a multi-time IWF World Heavyweight Champion. Shawn Prime is one of the only person in the past 3 years to pin Bad News Buster James. Every time Bad News Buster James has taken a loss, Shawn Prime has been directly involved with it. Shawn Prime is in a total of 7-time IWF World Heavyweight Champion, and he's only lost it 4 times.
So I'm guessing there were several injuries to make you lose the title a couple of those times.
Yeah, and very few of them were ever in ring is the problem. So my knee has been a problem of constant contention since 2017. I'm just coming back from ACL, my second ACL repair. That was super fun. Several concussions, and there was one time I was just being an absolute baby and I needed to get like 4 impacted wisdom teeth, and I'm like, guys, I can't wrestle with 4 impacted wisdom teeth. Like,
God
screw
dang,
that.
dude.
Yeah.
God dang, man.
So
Taking a lot of
it
pain
was-
and punishment.
Yeah, I don't know. I was probably being a really big baby. Like if someone came to me and like, I have an impacted wisdom tooth, I can't wrestle, like I'd be like, oh man, you're a baby. But like I get it. So
Shoot, dude, you've taken the pain and punishment from your body, and then you've still gone out there and performed though. Because I think one of the last I've been to 2, I've competed in 3 IWF events so far. Right, the first one I remember, was Van Buren Opera House. I remember that
was a
one.
great
I
show.
performed there. Yeah, it was
with
you and
so much sarcasm.
That was a wonderful show. It was outstanding. The house
Yep.
was completely packed as I shake my head no. It was a show, man. It was a show for sure. What kind of a show? It was a show. It was one that had wrestling involved. It was on a
Yeah.
stage. Anyway,
Yeah.
that show, it was you and Jordan Faithful taking on myself, Adam Shepard, and Kyle Love in like a handicap match, and I was confused because I thought it was me and Kyle Love against you and Jordan Faithful, but then Adam got added to the match, and it was a great show, I say with full sarcasm intended. It was wonderful. It was what we expected. It was what we wanted. Everybody.
Yes.
Anyway,
So, in the defense of the guy that booked that show, that was the first show he ever booked by himself. In the defense of the guy that booked that show.
right on. And then the next one was, of course, where I won the Intercontinental Championship, Comic-Con, last year.
Absolutely. Now, that show I actually liked. I had a bit of a problem with the finish of my match. I don't know if you heard about that, but there was a little bit of backstage controversy as I threatened to throw hands with my opponent after the match.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the finish was I went and I low blowed a guy, and then just to add insult to injury, I hit him with my finish, and I kid you not, 18 seconds later, he was up cutting a promo, and me and another referee, Tony Flanagan, we were back there and like, oh my god, that guy's an idiot.
Dadgum, man. Dadgum.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily like my match that much that night either, if I'm being honest. I heard nothing but good reviews about it, but I wasn't a big fan of my match either. So that makes two of us. Then
I'm looking for. Oh, I'm sorry, Adam. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, buddy. But yeah, the next show I was at December 9th down at Hope Park. That was the last show I was at. And I defended my championship against Jeremy Lewis, which, from what I'm hearing, I'm going to be facing at Comic-Con again.
That is what I have heard as well.
So I'm wanting to get him on this show so I can have a little talk with him. Why not? Have a talk with him.
How to count the cabbage.
I haven't talked to Jeremy in a little bit. I see him here and there. He works here in town, so I see him at his job and stuff, say hey. But apart from that, I haven't seen him. I'd like to talk to him about comic book stuff and this and that, and then, of course, tell him what's up for the match, tell him who's going to win and how fast and just how good I am. I mean, it doesn't say simply the best on my shirt for no damn reason.
Absolutely.
I am the reigning, defending Intercontinental Champion of the IWF, and he will put some respect on my name. So that's the way it works.
Did they tell you they got you a new belt?
I believe I've seen pictures of it. Yeah.
Okay.
It has a lighter blue strap on it. It looks really pretty.
It is gorgeous. I got to see it in person the other day, and I'm like, that is pretty. People should be really happy that I'm like injured right now and like not gonna Hulk Hogan it.
Well, let me tell you something, dude.
Yeah. No, it's an absolutely gorgeous strap, and I'm excited to watch you walk around with it and be simply the best at Comic-Con.
And I was last year. It's going to be 2 years in a row, undefeated Comic-Con streak. I'm telling you right now. Man,
me too. I won my match.
There you go. You're gonna do it 2 years in a row. We're gonna have 2-0 for both of us. We're gonna do great, man. So, what has been some memorable moments from your career, man? I know you told me in confidence that you were supposed to be going at someone really big name in. I don't know if I could say much about, but deathmatch wrestling legend a little while back.
Mm-hmm.
Did that ever end up happening?
So we made it to the show, and he ended up no call, no showing, and I ended up doing the death match, and luckily they gave me the win. And this was like a 12-hour like car ride, so I was so happy I got to go away with the win. Um, but no, it did not happen. And I was really sad about that. Because that would have cemented something in there. You know, I'm not looking to ever be lights and stage and crowd. That's just not my goal in life. But you know, I would love to mark down something interesting. Like, hey, I did that one time. You know, like
Yeah, definitely.
I just enough footage that when my daughter goes on her first date, I can just have some of my most violent spots playing on repeat in a loop on the television. Like, you see that? You see that guy going through that flaming table? That's gonna be you.
Don't break my baby's heart.
Exactly.
I feel that, man. What are some of the bigger moments in your career that you've had, man?
So I got to do my first ladder match. That was exciting. Um,
What was that like?
So up until that point, we had like 2 hours before the show to kind of practice and get a hang of like ladder spots. I have since learned that in the really big leagues, they paint wooden ladders to look like metal ladders, and that wasn't the case. These were solid metal, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. Like, I know I'm on the wrong side of the Mason-Dixon to break kayfabe like that, but as long as you're not, like, dumb, you're going to be fine in any situation like that. And your opponent's not dumb.
Man.
Like, that's important, too.
Definitely.
You don't ever want to be that guy like, hey, I'm gonna hit you with like a whisper in the wind when from the ladder. I'm like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
That sounds crazy.
Definitely. Speaking of, go ahead. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. You continue.
No, you're good. Other big accomplishments. Man, I don't know why. Multiple time world champ. That's cool. But the things that I look back to that I consider like, hey, those were the crowning achievements was when I got the audience to go. And one of the prettiest looking spots that I've ever been able to complete was I was the one taking the move. I was hung upside down in the tree of woe with the trash can placed over me, and my opponent just hit a coast to coast from the opposite end of the ring, and the crowd was silent, and then they erupted whenever I kicked out of that.
Oh, wow.
And it's moments like that like those are like just when you've got the crowd by the edge of their seat, and like, you know, here at IWF we'll sell you the entire seat, but we promise you're only going to use the edge.
There you go.
Just as long as you can make that statement true, I'm good. Those are the big moments for me.
Right on, man. Right on. Yeah, you were talking about dudes who like, hey, I'm gonna do a whisper in the wind off a ladder, dude. You're like, hell no, you ain't. Have you had to work with any really, really difficult, undertrained performers?
In the backyard days, yes. And there are people to this day. I'm not one of those guys that like, I will not work with someone, but I am one of those guys that if I can ever help it, I have a list. I have a list in Oklahoma and I have a list in Arkansas, and if you're on that list, I don't want to work with you, probably because your moonsault hurts.
Oh man, I am definitely the opposite of a spot monkey. I like keeping my feet on the ground. I don't like doing flippy stuff. I can't do any of that stuff. I don't want to high dive, nothing. I play it safe, stay on my feet, you know, unless somebody knocks me down, which has happened a couple of times, just a couple of times. No need to worry. But
so, with my training and kind of how we were introduced to bumps and everything, we had a lot. So the guy that was there, he did a lot of parkour stuff. So like, not only did we learn like, hey, take a flip bump this way, we learned like, take a flip bump this way, land on this vertebrae, use your momentum to spread out your spine. And I mean, I can do a flip bump off of a very tall ladder and be completely fine just because of that.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to hurt the next day, but I'm going to be fine to continue.
Definitely. Right on, man. Right on. Your journey is yet to be complete in the IWF. You've been doing underground appearances from what I've been seeing.
I have been doing underground appearances. We have been putting on little house shows, very limited roster. I would say very limited crowd, but man, the last two shows we've knocked 52 and 42 in attendance respectively, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but for our little building, it was really nice. The crowd was on fire. But yeah, we've been doing underground shows. We have a major show that we're doing June 8th. I don't know the address or the location, or I'd shamelessly plug that right now. But Shawn Prime versus Bad News Buster James for the IWF World Heavyweight Championship. And I'm going to walk in there. I'm going to show him why bad guys do it better. And I'm going to be the last man standing. Like I was the last man to hold his shoulders to the mat for a 3 count. I'm going to be the last man to beat him as well, because when I get done with him, it's going to be his last match.
Man. Those are some strong words, my friend. Very strong words. I had him on the show not too long ago, and we talked about being a bad guy a little bit. You would say, I'm guessing you are the badder of the two, correct?
Oh, absolutely. You know, Bad News Buster James over off in Vegas, wherever he is, I don't know, I don't care, but man, I am the bad guy. And if he ever wants to show his tiny little rear end on this side of Oklahoma City ever again, I'll make sure to kick it right back to where he came from.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
I really censored myself there so much because I don't know what rating your podcast is.
Dude, you could say anything. I already dropped an F-bomb on the show, so I mean.
Okay, good.
You could say anything you want to on this show, man. I don't censor anybody.
Okay, great.
Yeah. No problem. But yeah, man, moving out of that. Well, actually, let's stay there for a second. How long have you actually been feuding with Buster James? Because you said you're the only one to pin him. Like, recently, you're the last one to pin him, and you're one of the only people to pin him for a 3 count. Is this a long-term rivalry that's been happening, or?
In the last 3 years, Bad News Buster James has been pinned 1 time. And that was by me. And in the last 3 years, Bad News Buster James has lost 2 matches. And both of those matches, you know, this guy right here was the cause of it. So yeah, we've been feuding for a significant amount of time. Shawn Prime in the LCF, which is Chris's Bad News' faction. We have not seen eye to eye ever since that Van Buren show when a member of the Lights Camera faction came out and cost me the world title.
Daggone, man.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And you know,
that was April last year, I believe, right?
Yep.
Daggone, man. Go ahead. You were saying come.
Oh, and you know, come June 8th, it's over. It's said and done. The LCF, Bad News Buster James, they won't be able to even walk out of the venue on their own accord. Like, I've had it up to here with them. No, up to here. Yeah.
Right on, man. Right on. Okay, so switching just a little bit off of this, we're gonna look all-time greatest. Give me your Mount Rushmore. That's four people. Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling as a whole.
CM Punk, Johnny Gargano, John Cena, Natalie Markova.
Hmm. What are your reasonings behind all those?
Oh man, now I gotta take the last one back. So John Cena, that's self-explanatory. The man defined what a babyface was, for the better part of his career. Um, I firmly believe a lot of what CM Punk does is work, and I think he's done an absolute amazing job of just promoting himself through what he does. And Johnny Gargano is simply just Johnny Wrestling. He is the best technical wrestler to ever lace up a pair of boots. And if maybe apart from William Regal, I don't know. I'm caught up there. But he's definitely more active than Regal, and that's probably why I've watched a lot more of his matches. And then Natalie Markova, she's just amazing. Words cannot properly describe her in-ring ability, nor how gorgeous she actually is.
Right on, man. Right on. For me, it's I said it a couple episodes back, but it's like DDP because he was my favorite. He was the everyman like guy pretty much. You know, he was wearing blue jeans and tank tops out there and fighting in work boots and work knee pads and stuff like that, like for construction and stuff, like the little plastic hard knee pads that construction workers would wear, elbow pads or whatever. Yeah, he was wearing just normal stuff out there, and he was the everyman hero. I mean, he was the guy. That's why he was known as the People's Champion in WCW, because he was the man of the people. You know, he was every single person out there in the audience because he was just a regular dude, pretty much. The Rock has to be on that list because there's no one, I mean, no one in the history of time that does as good promo work as The Rock. I mean, even him just saying, even him just being like, "Shut up, bitch," you know, and stuff like that. It's his timing. It's the way he says stuff. It's how he keeps the crowd engaged. It's the insults, how funny they are, or how disrespectful they are. Either way, man, the guy is just the best promo in the business of all time, in my opinion. Period. Then I got two more modern kind of people, you know, Randy Orton, because Randy Orton is a bona fide Hall of Famer one day. He's a student of the game, third generation, whatever. He's just one of the best still doing it right now, in my opinion. Randy Orton's he's in a class all his own. 14-time heavyweight champion. Plus, he's held all the other championship belts he can hold in the WWE, and he's been a Money in the Bank winner. I mean, the guy's done almost everything you could do, you know. So the only thing he hadn't done, I think, is win King of the Ring. So, and he doesn't even really have to do that, you know. But the other one is AJ Styles, because the guy was one of the most innovative wrestlers, I think, of the modern era that you've seen. You know, you were watching back in '06. You were watching like WWE with CM Punk defending the Intercontinental Championship against Regal, while I was probably watching Spike TV, watching AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels tear it up. You know what I mean? So you're seeing he's a veteran that's been in the business since the late '90s, early 2000s, all the way to current, and he's just one of the best of all time, in my opinion. You know, I don't think you can really take that away from him. I think he's a sure ballot Hall of Famer whenever he decides to hang the boots up at some point. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that all of those picks are awesome. I think your picks are awesome because apart from Natalie Markova, I have not even I don't know who that is, if I'm being honest. I'm gonna have to look her up. But
Really?
yeah.
Wow, okay.
I'm gonna have to look her up. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all right. I'll look her up.
My heart
Apart
hurts
from
for you, Adam.
it's okay. Don't worry about it. My heart will go on and on. You know what I mean? Celine Dion. So, uh, Johnny Gargano, John Cena, and you said what? CM Punk?
Yep,
Uh, Master storytellers, all of them. They
absolutely.
know how to tell a story. CM Punk, all three of them, I guess. No, I'd say Cena and Punk more than Gargano are amazing on the microphone. They both know how to talk really well.
Hmm.
Gargano has some of the best body movement whenever it comes to selling limp or to selling moves or anything like that. I can see Gargano as one of the best in that. He's amazing technical wrestlers, like you said, but also his facials are really, really good as well. Like if you watch him whenever he's in there wrestling and something happens and does the whole wow, that whole thing, he gives an oh shit face better than almost anybody. You know what I mean? So I could
Absolutely.
definitely see that, dude. Definitely. Yeah. Um, what is your goal in pro wrestling as a whole, man?
So, as a whole, so here's why this question is difficult to answer. About 2 days ago, um, my ACL started acting up again, and it's looking like we're gonna have to go back in surgery. And I am probably very close to hanging up my wrestling boots right now. Um, so I think switching gears, um, well, I am one thing that I love is professional wrestling photography, and I think switching gears, um, I want to I want to do more major shows. I want to get um, I would love to photograph WrestleMania one day. That is my goal.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I think it's a very attainable goal because I've seen your work
Absolutely.
reconciled photography, man. It's freaking amazing. If you haven't looked it up, guys, go check out reconciled photography. I mean, it's just spectacular the work this guy does. How did you get into that? You're blind, as you said. How did you get into photography, man? How does that even work?
Um, yeah, that's the question everyone asks. And I don't have a straight answer. Um,
He said, I just put the
so
camera up and I feel it.
yeah, yeah, just touch it around. So how I do it, I can't really explain. Other than cameras are wonderful things, and I can lower. So how I am blind is I'm missing the cells in my eyes that process light. So if I can lower light, I'm in a much better state. I'm much more normal toward people. So that's why like wrestling in a building where it's a little bit darker is normally a little bit better for me. Wrestling at Hope Park, that was miserable. I never want to do that again.
I agree.
And
I don't want to do that again either.
yeah, it was hot for the middle of December.
Yeah, it was
And
warm, but I mean, whenever you have some yahoos walking around out there, that's like you think you're gonna die for a second. It's like Jesus, man, what the hell's going on? I felt genuinely afraid for a moment, even though we had several big, big guys out there. It's like, what's this dude doing? He's just walking around like, yeah, yeah, think you tough, you some wrestlers, okay? And it's like, God dang, dude, just chill out. It's gonna be okay.
absolutely. And so with photography, so I'm able to kind of lower the how bright my inside screen gets, and that allows me to focus a little bit better on what I'm doing. How I started, I was handed a camera at Vacation Bible School and like, hey, go take pictures. And I'm like, I like this. And then my wife, who is an art major, who is also blind, when she was taking figure drawing, a good workaround for her, instead of being in the class drawing the figure, was for us to just hire in professional models, come in, shoot, and I was already a wedding photographer at that point, and then I got heavily into that, and it's just expanded since then. And I love it. It's a great time.
Right
And
on,
people pay me
man.
lots of money to come in and photograph wrestling shows, so that's even better.
There you go. There you go. Right on, man. Have you got the chance to photograph for Vapors Championship Wrestling?
I have. I brought a ring to Vapor, their first show, and their second show I was supposed to be there as a videographer, and me and my sister who were in Hot Springs, we went on one of the nature trails, and someone said, "Oh, let's go look at this," and we got lost.
Oh,
And we didn't get out of the national park thing until like 8 o'clock at night.
oh wow, man.
That was terrifying.
Oh,
You ever been in those parks after dark?
no. Most of the time you walk them in the daytime.
Yeah, I don't recommend it.
Where's the
You want to talk about
trail?
creepy? Yeah.
Right on, man. Right on. Man, we're winding down, and normally at the end of each episode, I like to do a little thing that I took from an enormously famous wrestling podcaster and a super big inspiration for me, a guy with the initials of CVV. And he does this thing at the end of his episodes where he lets his guests say three things they're grateful for. For me, I kind of twisted it a little bit, and I'll let them know what my three things are, and then they do the same back. But for me, it doesn't change that much, if I'm being honest, man. It's pretty much the same every time. It's my support system for one, my beautiful fiance, my 13 and 8-year-old daughters, my mom, my dad, my brother, anybody who's really supported me in any of my journeys that I've gone on, whether it's music, whether it's movie making, audio dramas, or this show here. Anybody that supported me, I'm very grateful for, because they helped keep me going throughout all this stuff. The second thing is you guys, the guys and gals that choose to come on my show, because if I'm being honest with you, dude, you don't have to come on here. I mean, I'm just some random dude that likes talking to people. So, I mean, there's no real reason for anybody to come on the show. So I'm super grateful for each and every person that decides, hey, I'm going to give him an hour. I'm going to give him 30 minutes or whatever amount of time they can. It means the world to me, because I love talking to you awesome people that I get the chance to talk to, So that's the second thing. And the third thing is kind of a tie, my health for one, and the other is the good Lord above. Because if I didn't have my health, well, first, if I didn't have the good Lord above, I wouldn't have my health and I wouldn't have anything. The saying is, with him or without him, nothing is possible. But with him, everything is possible, and I like to believe that. So, Shawn Prime, what are three things that you're grateful for in this very moment?
So in this very moment, three things I'm grateful for. First of all, that would be my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Because without him, I am absolutely nothing. He gives me the very breath in my lungs. And if I could just take a shameless plug right now for him and say, everyone that listens to this, you are far worse of a person than you could ever think that you are. But at the very same time, you are more loved and accepted in Jesus Christ than you could ever hope to be. My second thing is, of course, my support system. Just like you said, without these people, we'd probably be crazy in a ditch. I'm thankful for my wife, my daughter. I'm thankful for my uncle, my aunt. They were the people that really raised me. And my third thing would be probably just the time I have been given on this earth, because I have been very blessed to travel to 5 out of the 7 continents. I've got to meet my beautiful baby girl. Um, I am 26 years old, man, and I have lived a life that most people 3 times older than me would be incredibly jealous of. So I'm thankful for my time.
Definitely, man. Definitely, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on here, dude. It means a lot to me, man.
Absolutely. I get to be among the names of like Mr. Kennedy and Adam's brother.
My
Look here, I
brother.
loved that episode with your brother. Okay?
Dude, it was
I'm like,
so
me
fun
and this
talking
guy would
about
be
it.
friends.
Yeah, Alex is a really cool dude. He's a funny dude. He's way taller than I am. He's like, I mean, that's not hard to do though. I'm like 5'5", 5'6", but he's like 6'1" and 3/4" or something like that. So he's a pretty tall dude, you know, compared to me. But yeah, he's one of my best friends. We had a great time on that episode, you know. But yeah, man. Again, thank you for coming on, dude. Thank you for the support that you've given for the podcast. The comments, it's the best podcast on, what did you say, this side of Oklahoma or something like that?
Yeah, best podcast this side of OKC is probably what I said.
Yeah. But is there anything you want to promote or plug your social medias, any shows or anything you got coming up that you'd like to talk about before we get off here?
Absolutely. Fort Smith Comic Con, be there, be square. We're working on, we will start releasing cards and advertisement posters probably around June 9th. Be on the lookout for those from the IWF, the Impact Wrestling Federation. Check out my Instagram, Reconcile Light Painter. Yeah, that's about it, Adam. I appreciate you bringing me on here. To be in such esteemed company as your brother, who is a hilarious man, and I wish I could be that funny. It is really an honor.
Right on, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on, buddy, and we'll talk to you real soon.
See, I told you it was a really cool episode. I had a lot of fun on this episode. I'm glad you guys got to join us on this episode, and it was a lot of fun talking to Shawn, catching up with him, and you know, just learning about stuff that he's doing. Also, he has a kick-ass photography like business where he just takes pictures, and that's even more impressive because he's blind. You know, it's nuts. Very happy I got to have him on. I had a lot of fun talking to him, and can't wait to have him back on in the future. It's going to be great. But as far as this episode goes, this episode is complete. Now, you want to tune in tomorrow, because tomorrow we have this guy I think has been on more times than anybody else that's came on the show. We have the current reigning and defending only 2-time South Central Wrestling Cruiserweight Champion, Troy Twain, back on the show, and he asked to come on. Specifically, he asked to come on the show, so I am very, very excited to talk to him about whatever he wants to talk about. Like I said, he requested coming on the show, so very excited to have him. But guys, as for right now, this episode is done, and it was a lot of fun. So, with that being said, never forget to always listen when Adam talks. You guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or night whenever you're watching or listening to this. And we will see you very, very soon on another great episode of the Adam Talks podcast.